but I think this is a necessary conversation. We have to talk about, especially with us all being of a certain generation, we have to talk about the dynamic between spiritual fathers and spiritual sons. And of course, we're using that in a gender neutral sense: spiritual mothers, spiritual daughters, fathers, daughters, mothers, sons, the whole nine. But we have to talk about this. This is one of the comments that we get a lot in the comments, DM. People really want to know about this because I think, and I'll throw it out here, that this concept has been bastardized so severely, and we have to discuss it because it is a God concept. It is a kingdom concept that I believe has been perverted in so many instances and manipulated and used for selfish gain, and it's left a lot of casualties on both sides. As Clack would say, bodies have been stabbed.
That's good.
Burned. Blood has gushed from the veins of the children of
Come on, vocabulary.
man.
The children of man.
There's been a gulf in the earth, and there's been
That's good.
So there's a divide, and we got to talk about this. Malachi, and I'll throw this out there in a moment of transparency. I don't know if I've ever shared this with you all, but one of the things that really, really caused me to start my ministry, YLC specifically, is the scripture in Malachi that says, in the last days I'll send my prophet and turn the hearts of the fathers to the sons, hearts of the sons to the fathers, lest I smite the earth with a curse. We focus on the hearts turning, I think, without emphasizing that he says first, I will send my prophet and he will turn, meaning somebody has to facilitate
The turn.
the turn.
It's really good.
And then the other side, don't skip that, if the turn doesn't happen, I'm going to smite the earth with a curse. I think a lot of what we're seeing in church world, even in the natural world, is a side effect of the curse, so to speak, that has been released because there's been an unwillingness or an inability, whatever the context is.
Rebellion.
But there hasn't been the turning. So let's talk about it. Fathers and sons, what comes to mind? You said the R word. You went all the way there. Talk about that.
I really, when I think about fathers and sons, I think we first need to address how many fathers can you have? And I'm saying that because we have sons who function in such a spirit of rebellion that as soon as one father makes them upset, they soon go find another. And I think that they may be missing the moment that God is using that father to develop in their life. You're not always going to agree with your spiritual father or your spiritual mother. You know, there's going to be seasons of disagreement, seasons of confusion. Seasons of not understanding. Just look at Elijah and Elisha. When he, in that first chapter of 2 Kings, when he's taking him from Jericho to these different places, he kept asking him, Father, where are you taking me? What are you doing? And he kept saying, if you keep your eyes on me,
Stay with me.
you got to stay with me even when you don't understand. And I think that we have sons who don't necessarily want fathers, they want platforms.
Do you think it would help if we define really what a spiritual father is first?
Well, let's go.
Please. How do you see it? How do you define it?
I think we need to define it because a lot of people are confusing a father for a sponsor.
A funder.
A funder, just because they put you on, that doesn't automatically make them your father. But a father is someone who covers you. A father is someone who you've given the right to check you if you're off. A father is someone who can see farther than you about you. They have the capacity to speak into the specifics of your makeup. And that's totally different from somebody who just puts you on. I think sometimes we lay that title so easily on people who do things for us. But I think it means way more to be a father than just putting you on.
Well, let's look at it. A father is a nurturer.
Absolutely.
Is a trainer. A father should be able to see and speak to your future.
I agree.
A father puts into you your DNA.
That's it.
You understand? Bishop Brown said something one time. I don't necessarily want to know what you do as much as I want to know where you come from. I want to be able to hear your DNA. Yeah. It is an honor when someone says to me, you sound like Archbishop Hudson.
Oh, yeah.
It is an honor when they say they can see him in me. I'm not offended by that.
Absolutely.
I am honored by that because what it says is I'm so committed, I'm so faithful that you can tell my DNA, and it's not something I'm doing intentionally.
Yeah. You're not acting.
I'm not acting.
I think a father has to be somebody with something in his hand So Paul tells Timothy, you got to stir up the gift that's on the inside of you through the laying on of my hands.
Yeah.
Wow.
Elijah is going to toss something to Elisha from his hand.
That's right.
And so I think if you're going to define and have a distinction for a father, it can't just be somebody with attraction and influence.
That's right.
If they have empty hands.
That's right.
So if you've got to have something in your hands, and they got to be clean hands.
That's absolutely.
So I think if we start to look at the hands
But
of the men and women.
can I be messy? I don't know if every father's going to have clean hands.
I agree with that 1,000%.
When it comes to the spiritual activation of my life,
Yes.
you have to have
Got
clean
you.
hands.
I agree.
I'm
When
not
it-
talking about in the perfection of deeds. I'm talking
Got you.
about you
Transfer.
heard something, you have something from God in your
Right.
history, and you can give it to me.
Right. Because I'm going to say this. Who would you deem as David's spiritual father, Saul or Samuel?
Samuel.
I'd say Samuel, definitely not Saul.
So who would you deem as, who was Saul in David's life?
That's a good question.
An open door.
I was just an opportunity. And he's
Holding
trained.
his seat.
But how much
mantle
of
does David walk into?
The person that pours oil on him.
But
he didn't become the prophet, he became the king. He took Saul's spot.
He was king and priest.
Yeah, but how much of David's
He's a type of
identity though?
Christ.
You're right.
No, and not as, but Samuel was prophet, priest, and judge, which would really be more of a type of Christ because Jesus is prophet, priest, and king. Samuel's the last judge in Israel.
Yeah, he's the last
So he's prophet, priest, and judge. David's just prophet and David's just priest and king.
But in your typology that you just explained, it looks like it is a very Christ-like lineage
I
running
agree.
through this connection between
Running from
Sam and
Samuel,
Dave.
right? But so this is the question though.
Because a lot of David's perspective was shaped and formed by his interaction with Saul.
But I would say I do think that we would all agree that you can get attributes from a spiritual father that he himself or she may not be living out.
That's true.
There are things that Bishop Hudson put in you that he may not be doing, but it's a direct line because it's activated.
Well, Samuel is prophet,
Right.
priest, and judge. He is the last judge, which means that seat was passed from Samuel to Saul to David. But the question is, David has such an honor for Saul
Right.
that he refuses to kill him. And
not
he
touch the Lord's anointed.
literally says, my father, my father. You understand? So we got to deal with that. So we understand that Samuel, if we're looking with spiritual eyes, definitely looks like David's spiritual father. But who do we think that David saw as his spiritual father? Or was David calling Saul his father because of his relationship with Michal?
Yeah, but I say that was naturally his father-in-law.
Right.
And he could have been a father figure to some degree. But as far as who activates something spiritually in David, that's Samuel all day.
I'm in agreement. I'm not saying that Samuel didn't. Samuel definitely activated, unlocked it.
I think he released it, but I don't know. I almost feel like the ducking of the javelins did more to activate some things than just the oil did. I think the pour is of course undeniable.
If that's the case,
after that pour.
If that's the case, anybody who throws a javelin at me consistently can be considered.
Well, I'm gonna say this.
Well, the javelin taught him emotional restraint.
Yeah.
It
Not to
absolutely did.
retaliate.
But David sees Saul so high that David seeks to kill the man that
He kills the man
He
that
does.
kills him. He's in the cave and cuts off a strip of his. He has Saul in the most vulnerable position. He is in the cave using the bathroom. David has him dead to rights, but out of that honor for his position in his life.
Do you think he was sitting or standing?
My God.
Oh my God!
It had to have been a
the
number
Bible
2.
says he was sitting.
Yes, sir.
The Bible said he was squatting.
He was squatting.
Can we get the poop emojis,
Bible.
editors, really quick? If you could sprinkle them, that would be great.
Do not put poop on this podcast. Don't you
Put
do
it
that.
right in
if
this
you intend
area
to
right
continue
here.
working here, you would not. Don't put poop on my table. Don't do that.
Plop, plop.
He spilled coffee a couple weeks ago. And he got another.
got it
And I brought another cup.
God, yeah, right. We went from pouring to pooping. I don't like this.
Relief.
Okay, so are we saying though? Can we agree though that one of the things I'm hearing this in everyone's comment? One of the things that a father does is provides identity. I think we all can agree with that. Identity, instruction, and to your point about the hand, I think a father has to provide inheritance.
That's what I'm. Yes.
Identity, Father tells you who you are. Even in the natural, in our context, there are things that we've all learned just about manhood from our Father. Right. Don't sit like that. Yeah. No, don't walk like that. No. This is how you throw. No. This is how you tie your tie.
Correction.
No. A man occupies the ground he stands on. Mm-hmm. No, stand up straight. We don't. That's not how we. Identity. You know who you are because of a father's voice.